Welcome back to Elfster's Rifles and Reloading. In Part 9, we are finally dropping powder and seeding bullets. If you haven't seen my videos before, please go to my YouTube channel and check out the previous videos that got us up to this point. And if you're sitting at a desktop, click on the links on the left and the right, and they will immediately take you to those parts of the series. If you enjoy my vids, please subscribe, like, and share. Enough said. Let's get this going. Let's get this show on the road right away. Now, before we can deal with this and this, we need to deal with this first. And that's how much powder we're going to drop. So I'm sure some of you are probably sick of hearing me say this, but it's got to be said. The amount of powder that I drop is up to me, and it's not what you do. The finalized amount of powder that you drop, this is where you need to do your own homework. So let's start out with the 60 grain VMAX. Okay, so according to my Hornady handbook, with 60 grain VMAX bullets using Varget, we're going to reload to 23.8 grains of Varget. It's going to produce roughly about 2,900 feet per second. Now, is that totally accurate? No, but it's pretty darn close. So let's check out the 168 grain AMAX 308 bullet. So for the 168 grain AMAX and the 308 Winchester, in the Varget, we're going to reload to 41.7 grains, which will roughly produce 2,500 feet per second. So let's drop some powder, but before we do that, I want to give you some quick tips on how to use a Charge Master. So if you're new to the game and you're about to buy your equipment, obviously don't forget this. Now before you use your Charge Master, or any other scale to that matter, make sure you turn it on a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes before you use it. If you don't let it warm up beforehand, you're going to get inaccurate results. Next, make sure you don't have any cell phones or LED lighting super close to your scale. Having those products really close to your scale will throw your powder drops way off. Now what I like to do is get a plastic spoon for overdrops. What I did is file off the tip to a razor sharp point. So if you do get any overdrops and you need to scoop any out, it makes it super easy. These are your friend. Dryer sheets. I know it sounds ridiculous, but static electricity on these scales is one of its evils. So before I drop powder, at least what I like to do is I rub down my pan and this part of my Charge Master, and we'll actually put this right underneath my scale. Now, if you're new to the game and you're about to purchase a Charge Master, it seems like most guys modify it a little bit, at least with the McDonald's straw mod. And if you're not familiar with that, there's a ton of YouTube videos on how to do this, so I'm not going to go over that again. But there are other things you can do, such as this pen insert that actually slides into the McDonald's straw mod that reduces the opening of the powder that actually comes out. It does make it more precise with very little overdrops, but it does slow down the process. Some guys will even purposely drop their powder a grain or two short of what they intended and then trickle off the rest. But I think for this tutorial, we're just going to stick with the straw mod for now. Now before you drop any powder, you should always recalibrate your scale and zero out the pan. Wait till it turns 50 and then remove it. Stable, zero out the pan. You're done. Now one of the other evils of a scale, at least with the Charge Master, it's called drifting. And although it doesn't happen much, especially if you use a dryer sheet, it can happen. What will happen is over a period of time, especially over, let's say, I don't know, 40, 50 drops, you might start to see your powder drops start to drift off of what you intended to drop. And that's not good, especially if you're trying to do precision ammunition. One good key that you're starting to drift, I know for a fact that this pan always comes up as 148 grains. If I take my pan off and it starts to drift, saying 147.9 and then 147.8, and starts to progressively get worse, your scale's starting to drift and it's time to recalibrate. One other thing to do is to make sure your scale is always level. There are adjustable feet underneath this scale, so make sure you adjust them so there's no wobble at all. One other thing, never have a fan blowing on your scale itself. Any wind, just by blowing on your scale, will affect the outcome. Now, one last tip, at least with the Charge Master, what I like to do is keep my calibration weights away from the scale itself. Trust me when I say this, these scales are ultra sensitive, and the less interference, the better. So as long as you follow those rules, you should be good enough to produce reasonable precision ammunition. Now, are there better scales than the Charge Master? Yes, but for right now, this is what I'm using. And before you drop any powder, always check inside your brass for any stainless steel pins. So let's drop 23.8 grains of Varget for the 60 grain VMAX. Now on the other hand, for the 168 308 AMAX bullet, we're dropping 41.7 grains of Varget. Then when you're done dropping powder, before you seat the bullets, just double check all the levels of your powder. Make sure they all look the same. And don't forget to fill out your info cards as you go. So I'm going to start out with a Hornady 168 grain AMAX using the Redding competition die seeder. Now, according to the Hornady handbook, for 168 grain AMAX, recommended coal is 2.800 inches. With that said, my 308 Rock River Arms AR doesn't take PMags, even though I wish it kind of did, but it doesn't. It actually takes FAL style mags. Now, this is the Rock River Arms factory mag that came with my rifle, and it's very limited to recommended cartridge overall length. Now, if you remember my previous video, my Rock River Arms 308 AR rifle has a super generous throat on it. And in order to maximize the accuracy, I kind of switched over to this metal FAL magazine in order to get a little bit longer cartridge overall length, which is also considered magazine length. So what I'm going to do is seat the bullet just so I can feed the round into this magazine comfortably. It's still not too long, so it's not super tight, but it will allow it to function properly and feed into the chamber. Now, I've already measured my chambers on the 308 AR, my bullet comparator. So even if I go to complete magazine length, I know for a fact that my bullet is still not going to touch the lands. It could probably even go damn near an eighth past magazine length and just barely touch the lands. It's that generous, so I'm not worried about it. Now, your rifle, on the other hand, could be completely different. So when I say it's 100% your responsibility to double check the seating depth of your bullet, I'm not kidding. So let's seat this first bullet and see how close we are to magazine length. It's pretty close, but we still need to go a little bit further. So let's take this back out of the magazine and dial down this seater just a little bit longer. Wow, that is damn close. So right now we're at 2.875. So we'll dial this down just a little bit. We are at maximum magazine length. Now, although it fits, I want just the smallest amount of room so this functions correctly. So right now we are at 2.847. I'd say that's just about right. So right now we're at 2.829. Now I'm gonna feed all three of these in the magazine just to make sure they fit comfortably. Looks like we're good to go. So now that I have my maximum magazine seating depth figured out, I can go to town. So just another note while you're seating bullets, if you see any copper, shavings or dust or whatever around the case mouth openings while you're seating the bullet, it's a good sign you didn't chamfer enough. Finally, we're done. Now on the other hand, my 5.56 Rock River Arms AR can take PMags, but it's still pretty much the same thing. I'm still gonna load to maximum magazine length because I've measured it before and I know what I can seat it at. And this is where you need to do your homework on figuring out your bullet seating depth. So for the 60 grain VMAX, recommended Hornady coal is 2.250 inches. It's really close, but we need to keep on going. So we'll screw this down just a little bit. 269. All right. Now it fits in the magazine, but it's still pretty snug. I'm just going to go just a little bit more. So we'll screw this down just a little bit more. I'd say that's just about right. So if recommended coal is 2.250, we got 256, we're 006 over recommended coal. So how many can say they've done this next to their ear? Yes, there's powder in there. Well, holy cow, this ammunition is officially done. And I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. It took more effort video recording all this than it actually took to make this ammunition. And once you get a method to your madness down, you're gonna fly right through it. Trust me on that. Well, hope you learned something, and if you did, please subscribe, like, and share. And this series is not over with yet. There's one more, and that's part 10. And you're going to join me on this journey, taking this very ammunition out to the rifle range and watch this very ammunition hit paper. I'll see you next time.